Princess Kate back in the spotlight, joining the royal family for a weekend of remembrance.
It was a Friday evening in Brighton. Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, walked into a humble fish and chip shop unannounced, and before that night ended, something strange happened involving the princess, an unknown man, a strange map, and a hidden treasure. The secret she discovered that night felt like the beginning of something far greater than anyone could ever imagine. The streets of Brighton were in its usual state. Local dwellers filled the seaside walkways, and people were seen laughing and chatting as they enjoyed the sounds of sea animals and the moving waves. The air and the environment smelled of salt, mixed with the aroma of fish and chips, which came from the Golden Catch, a beautiful shop built with palm leaves and fronds along a busy street. Families were gathered around tables, newlywed couples shared meals, and an old man who occasionally visited the shop enjoyed the simple but tasty plate of fried cod and chips. As people continued to savor the moment, the door to the shop creaked open, and the brass bell above it jingled faintly. A woman who was dressed in a purple coat and scarf walked in. For a second, nobody seemed to notice her, but as she walked further into the shop, conversations began to falter as people's heads were turned towards her. She had a warm smile on her face as she walked in majestically. They looked at her closely and discovered it was Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales. The realization rippled through the room like the wave of the sea. The dwellers looked at her in disbelief and wondered among themselves what could have brought Princess Kate Middleton into their local chip shop. Mr. Wallace, the shop owner, nearly dropped the tray he was carrying when he saw her approach the counter. He was surprised to see her, as it wasn't every day or any day that royalty would stroll in. Kate Middleton, whose presence radiated beauty, smiled at him glowingly. "Good evening," she said, her voice as gracious as ever. "I've heard you serve the best fish and chips in Brighton, so I'd love to try them out." Mr. Wallace, who was evidently overwhelmed by Princess Kate Middleton's presence, tried to compose himself and managed to answer with a shaky voice, "Oh, of course, Your Highness. It's an honor. What can I get for you?" As Kate Middleton placed her order, the sound of whispers grew louder. Those that were in the shop at that moment brought out their phones gently from their pockets and were eager to capture a moment no one would have believed if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes. As Kate stood patiently, she looked around the shop as if she were just another customer. She exchanged pleasantries with some of the men and women around. Her approachable nature kept people at ease. Among the crowd was Emily, a young 10-year-old girl who sat with her mother. She picked a small notebook and summoned the courage to approach Kate Middleton. Her voice shook as she asked, "Your Highness, could I have your autograph?" Kate knelt down and responded, "I'm afraid I don't give autographs, but how about a picture instead?" Emily's face immediately brightened, and her mother eagerly snapped the photo of the moment. The room collectively sighed in admiration and marveled at Kate Middleton's kindness. No sooner than the camera clicked, something unusual happened. The lights in the shop began to go on and off, even as wind swept through the shop and shook the windows. Napkins and menus were taken off the tables by the effect of the commotion. Locals in the shop began to look around with uneasy silence as they wondered what was happening. What brought about the change in atmosphere? Could it be some sort of horror accompanying Kate Middleton's visit? Only time would tell. "That's strange," Mr. Wallace said, his eyes already caved in due to the sudden change. "The weather has been good all day." As those in the shop speculated about the sudden change, Kate's attention was drawn to a man who sat alone in one corner. He wore a face cap that seemed to cover a part of his face, his shoulders out of position as he slowly ate his meal. It felt like something was out of place with him. He seemed like he wasn't affected by Kate Middleton's presence, his gaze fixed on something no one else could see. Kate Middleton, whose years of public appearances and inbuilt ability, which she developed through study and dedication to people, has made her used to unusual happenings, charged in. She moved towards Mr. Wallace and quietly asked, "Do you know who that man is?" Mr. Wallace looked at the corner and shook his head. "No, ma'am. I have never seen him before. He just came in about an hour ago and has not had any conversation with anybody nor said a word." Kate nodded as she maintained her focus on the man a little longer. Immediately, the man lifted up his head slightly with his eyes locked onto hers. It was as if he sensed her attention. A sudden chill ran down Kate Middleton's spine as their eyes met. The man's expression was blank, but his focus pierced through her. He then stood without warning and walked towards her. Kate Middleton looked at the man as the room fell silent again as the man approached her. His boot gilded against the tiled floor and echoed. Each of his steps were deliberate and slow. He stopped when he was a few feet from Kate Middleton. The tension could be felt even as he spoke in a low but powerful tone that sent chills through the whole shop. "You should not be here," he said. His words carried weight that could not be denied. Kate Middleton, who frowned slightly, asked, "Excuse me?" Her voice steady but curious. Just before she could alter another word, the lights went off and on again, as another body of wind swept across the shop, much stronger this time. The man suddenly turned, walked out of the shop and slammed the door shut behind him. Everyone in the shop thought they had seen it all, but they never knew that there was more than they could ever have imagined. As the atmosphere settled, Kate Middleton noticed something on the floor near the table where the man sat. What was it that she saw? And was another mystery about to unfold? We're about to find out. She bent down to pick it up. It was a small, broken piece of paper that was folded into 4 parts. She unfolded it and saw that it was a hand-drawn map, marked with strange symbols and notes. At the middle was an X labeled "The Lost Relic." Out of curiosity, she opened to examine the map. "What could this be?" she murmured. The staff and patrons also gathered around her as their curiosity heightened. Mr. Wallace peeped over her shoulder. "It looked like something out of a copied story," he said with a nervous voice. Kate Middleton's security team, who had been observing quietly from the background, moved closer. "Your Highness, this could be dangerous. We have to leave," one of them advised. Kate Middleton's spirit became fired up. She looked at her team. Her expression was resolute. "I want to know where it will end," she said. Reluctantly, her security guards agreed and set off to follow the trail of the map. They had the first clue that led them to an old lighthouse outside of town. It was a place that looked as though it had been untouched for years. Its structure was totally different from what was obtainable in the town. Its broken external features bore the scars of storms that could not be numbered. The air inside the house was damp, heavy, and the walls were decorated with ancient signs that seemed to whisper past stories. As Kate Middleton and her team continued to follow the map's instructions, they found a compartment that was hidden at the lower part of the lighthouse. A small chest was inside with its hinges rusted but still intact. As soon as Kate Middleton opened the chest, she found a beautiful treasure, with its surface decorated with the same symbols that were on the map. The moment she held it in her hands, the treasure began to shine faintly. It emitted a kind of warmth that seemed to envelop her. "What is it?" one of the guards asked in amazement. "I don't know," she replied, as her eyes were fixed on the strange object. "It feels important," she said. A deep sound filled the room before anyone could say more. It grew louder with each passing second. The treasure continued to shine and cast a golden light across the walls. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the light became dimmed, and the room fell silent once again. Kate Middleton and his guards returned to the Golden Catch later that evening with the treasure safely kept in the bag. The earlier excitement had already died down, and the shop became more quiet than ever. As she enjoyed her meal, she reflected on what happened during the day. She began to question in her mind what the stranger meant by the warning, why the map led her to the treasure, and what the treasure is meant to be used for. Mr. Wallace, the shop owner, moved closer to her table with a cup of coffee. "Your Highness, I hope everything is all right. You seemed unsettled the other time." Kate Middleton smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Wallace. It has been an unusual day, but I'm good." Mr. Wallace, in turn, narrated how his father told him stories about a treasure that was kept in an old suitcase. "I always thought it was just a myth," he said. Kate Middleton's heart raced as she heard what Mr. Wallace said. Before she could open her mouth to ask if it was the treasure she found, a folded note appeared on her table, though she had not seen anyone place it there. She opened the note and saw something that read, "The treasure was not meant to be found. Be careful who you trust. The next step awaits in the morning." She immediately went back to study the map and saw a mark near the Brighton coastline. With the treasure in her hand, she decided to know the truth about the treasure, but the stranger's warning re-echoed in her mind. Be careful who you trust. Early the next morning, she followed the map's guide to a group of rocks beside the seashore. She found an object that was engraved in the rock that matched the treasure's design. When she pressed the treasure against it, a compartment that was hidden became open. It revealed an old book covered in strange symbols. Before she could examine further, a shadow came right behind her. She turned and saw the stranger from the shop, with a very serious expression on his face. "You've done well to come here," he said, his voice steady. "But you have just started." Kate Middleton, who was a bit worried, demanded that the stranger solve the puzzle of the treasure, symbols, and the object engraved in the rock. The stranger, who knew who Kate Middleton was, solved the puzzle and gave her the treasure as a gift. "Your determination and resilience has brought you this far, and you will make a great queen," he said.
While attending the 2007 Rugby World Cup semi-finals in Paris, the then 23-year-old Harry drove through the Paris tunnel where his mother died 10 years prior. He recalls asking his driver if he knew where the tunnel was and telling him that he wanted to go through it at the exact speed that Diana's car.
In his quest to connect with his mother, Harry admits to seeking help from a woman who claimed to have powers. In the memoir, Harry admits to taking cocaine at the age of 17, saying it wasn't very fun but made him feel different. He also recounts an incident at a party in January 2016 at Courtney Cox's house, where he took magic mushrooms and washed them down with tequila, leading to hallucinations where he spoke to a bin and a toilet. He mentions how Rebecca Brooks, the editor of News of the World, was determined to publish a story about his drug use, describing her in harsh terms. Harry also shares a personal and inglorious episode of losing his virginity in a field behind a busy pub to an older woman who loved horses and treated him like a young stallion.
"I am the lady that Prince Harry wrote about in his book, who he lost his virginity to."
With an older woman. She liked horses quite a lot and treated me not unlike a young stallion. Quick ride, after which she'd smack my rump and set me off to graze. Among the many things about it that were wrong, it happened in a grassy field behind a busy pub.
He further details an episode at a bar where, after drinking heavily, he tried to start fights, was thrown out, and later lashed out at his bodyguard, determined to hurt him, but did not receive the reaction he sought. Harry claims that his brother William, and then future sister-in-law Catherine, suggested he wear a Nazi uniform instead of a pilot uniform for a native and colonial fancy dress party in 2005. He mentions that he liked Catherine from the first time he met her, describing her as more of a sister than an in-law and someone he enjoyed making laugh. Harry also shares details from his tours of duty in Afghanistan, stating that he flew on 6 missions where 25 Taliban members were killed. He admits that he didn't view them as people, but rather as chess pieces taken off the board. He adds that the number didn't bring him any satisfaction, but neither did it cause him any shame. Prince Harry's relationship with his father and Camilla, the Queen. Harry shared insights into the complex dynamics between him, his father, and Camilla, Charles's wife. He mentioned that both he and his brother William had agreed to welcome Camilla into their family on the condition that their father did not marry her. However, when Charles decided to go ahead with the marriage, Harry recognized that his father was finally going to be with the woman he loved. Harry alleges that Camilla sacrificed him on her personal PR altar to improve her public image, leaking details of a conversation she had with William to the press. He also claims that Charles and Camilla leaked news of his drug use in 2002 and sent him to a drug rehabilitation center to gain sympathy for Charles as a father and for their relationship. Harry further alleges that William felt tremendous guilt for not speaking up about their father's affair with Camilla, leading to feelings of confusion and torment for William. Harry also accuses Camilla of playing a role in his mother's death, believing she was pivotal in the disintegration of his parents' marriage. He likened his first meeting with Camilla to getting an injection, noting that she seemed bored because Harry, not being the heir, posed no threat to her ambitions. Despite these feelings, Harry acknowledges that his father found happiness after marrying Camilla, and he wanted both his father and Camilla to be happy, even wondering if she was less dangerous when happy. He also mentions that Camilla turned his bedroom at Clarence's house into her dressing room as soon as he left. Harry discusses his father's difficult experience at Gordonstown, where Charles was bullied and almost did not survive, and mentions his father's attachment to a teddy bear, a symbol of the loneliness of Charles's childhood. In the book, Harry reveals that his role as William's best man during the 2011 wedding was not entirely accurate, as James Mead and Thomas Van Straubenzee gave the wedding reception speech. Harry felt this was the right decision, as he feared he might say something inappropriate. He also humorously recounts that he had a frostbitten todger at the wedding, a result of his trip to the North Pole, and was advised to apply Elizabeth Arden cream, which reminded him of his mother. Harry also alleges that William was tipsy on rum just hours before his wedding. He recalls that after breaking up with Chelsea Davy, he briefly dated Caroline Flack, but press intrusion quickly tainted their relationship. Additionally, he denies rumors of a relationship with Cameron Diaz, highlighting that while Britons are among the most literate people, they are also highly credulous when it comes to believing tabloid stories. Harry shares some personal and candid moments leading up to his relationship with Meghan Markle. On the day of their first date, he recalls being out at sea for a racing competition on a boat with no toilet, which led to him wetting his pants. He also admits to regretting searching for Meghan's sex scenes on Suits.
In his new memoir, Spare, the Duke of Essex admits that he once looked up Markle's sex scenes from the USA show Suits, and that he now regrets doing it, writing that he needs, quote, electric shock therapy to get the scenes out of his head.
Harry confesses that during a confrontation with Meghan, he became disproportionately, sloppily angry, which prompted Meghan to tell him she wouldn't tolerate such behavior and suggested he needed therapy. Harry mentions that his brother William urged him to take a closer look at his relationship with Meghan, believing it was moving too fast. However, Harry felt that their mother had played a role in helping him find Meghan. He also writes about Meghan being asked by Queen Elizabeth II to select a tiara from her private collection for the wedding. However, the Queen's dresser, Angela Kelly, initially refused to lend them the tiara, citing the need for an ordnance and police escort to take it out of the palace. After several attempts to contact Kelly, she eventually handed over the tiara, but with what Harry perceived as a clear warning in her eyes. There was also a disagreement between Meghan and Catherine over flower girl dresses, with Catherine expressing concern that her daughter Charlotte's dress needed to be completely remade just 4 days before the wedding. Harry recalls that Catherine texted Meghan, saying Charlotte cried when she tried on the dress because it was too big, long, and baggy.
Meghan's sister-in-law, Kate Middleton, was upset at a pre-wedding fitting for her daughter, Princess Charlotte.
Meghan, who took a day to respond, reminded Catherine that she was dealing with her ill father, who wasn't going to attend the wedding. Although Catherine agreed to take Charlotte to Meghan's tailor, Harry says he found Meghan sobbing on the floor when he got home. However, he adds that Catherine meant no harm and visited the next day with flowers and a card to make amends. Harry also touches on a conversation about the wedding rehearsal, where Meghan allegedly told Catherine, who had recently given birth, that she might be suffering from baby brain because of her hormones, as Catherine had forgotten a detail about the rehearsal timing. Harry recounts an apology from Meghan during a reconciliatory tea at Kensington Palace in June 2018. He also blames his father and stepmother's household for leaking the story about Meghan and Catherine's argument to the press. Harry shares 2 signs he saw before learning he was going to be a father. First, Meghan sang to a group of seals, which he claimed sang back. Second, Meghan took 2 at-home pregnancy tests and placed them on his bedside table. Harry reflected, "Let's see what Mummy can do with this situation." When they confirmed the pregnancy, he thanked Selkies and Mummy. The couple announced their pregnancy to the family on the day of Princess Eugenie's wedding in October 2018. Harry describes using a canister of laughing gas to stay calm during Meghan's birth. He also recounts Meghan's miscarriage in 2020.
So, of course, we are all now talking about the fact that she has revealed that she had a miscarriage in July.
They left the hospital with their unborn child in a tiny package, and Harry buried the child in a secret place under a banyan tree. The memoir details a confrontation between Harry and William at Nottingham Cottage in 2019. William, who visited to discuss their strained relationship, reportedly criticized Meghan as difficult, rude, and abrasive. Harry dismissed these comments as repeating press narratives about Meghan. During their argument, William allegedly grabbed Harry by the collar, ripping his necklace and knocking him to the floor, landing on a dog bowl that broke and cut him. Harry chose not to retaliate, and William later looked regretful and apologized. Harry called his therapist, and Meghan was deeply saddened by the incident. In his book, Harry reveals that his father, Charles, questioned whether Meghan wanted to continue her acting career, since they did not have much money. Charles supported the couple until their departure from the UK, but feared Meghan's popularity might overshadow him. Harry also claims that Charles and Camilla were uncomfortable with William and Catherine receiving too much publicity. Harry expresses surprise at losing his state-funded security after stepping back from royal duties, especially since his uncle Andrew, who faced serious allegations, retained his security. He criticizes the Sandringham summit, calling it a fix by royal household officials he nicknames the Bee, the Wasp, and the Fly, who he says used Machiavellian tactics to consolidate power. Harry recounts a tense meeting with Charles and William after Prince Philip's funeral in April 2021. Charles pleaded, "Please, boys, don't make my final years a misery." Harry describes William as his dear brother and arch-nemesis, and notes his brother's noticeable baldness and fading resemblance to their mother. During a walk, William questioned why Harry hadn't raised his concerns within the institution sooner, and suggested he take his complaints about the Megxit agreement to the Queen.
First Brexit, now Megxit. Sources say the Queen has called on aides to urgently define the new roles of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex in the space of days, not weeks.
Although William later told Harry he loved him and wanted him to be happy, Harry admits he didn't believe his brother's words. Harry and Meghan tell-all interview. The revelations surrounding Prince Harry have continued to captivate the world, especially since his decision to step back from royal duties in 2020. The events that unfolded afterward have only added to the intrigue. Although Prince Harry and his wife, the Duchess of Sussex, have distanced themselves from their official roles, they have certainly not stepped away from the spotlight. Following the release of his book, a revealing interview provided even more insights into the royal family dynamics. What did Prince Harry reveal in the interview that he had not already said in his book? What was the royal family's reaction to this? You're at the edge of your seat, and it's about to get even better. During the interview, Prince Harry discussed a particularly contentious meeting with his brother, Prince William, in 2021. Reflecting on the encounter, Harry described his brother's familiar scowl, which he had always noticed in their interactions, and mentioned the noticeable changes in William's appearance, including his advancing baldness and the fading resemblance to their mother. Harry clarified that his observations were not meant to be hurtful, but rather to provide a fuller picture of their relationship and the circumstances they faced growing up. He emphasized that the tension between them had been building for years, long before his wife entered the picture, countering the narrative that she was responsible for their strained relationship. The world had watched Harry and William grow up, often perceiving them as inseparable. However, as Harry's book reveals, their lives diverged significantly after the death of their mother.
Quite a severe head injury, but she was very much still alive on the back seat. And those people that caused the accident.
Even when they attended the same school, the bond between them was not as close as it seemed. William had once asked Harry to pretend they didn't know each other while at school, a request that deeply hurt Harry at the time. Despite the similar traumatic experience of losing their mother, the two brothers coped with it in very different ways. Prince William had attempted to discuss their mother with Harry on several occasions, but Harry, as a child, struggled to engage in those conversations. It wasn't that Harry didn't want to talk about it, he simply didn't know how. He never considered that discussing it might have been therapeutic. Recalling the tragic night of August 31st, 1997, when their mother, Princess Diana, passed away,
the princess, who spent her life in the relentless glare of the public eye, died in a speeding car in Paris, apparently trying to evade pursuing photographers.
Harry was only 12 years old and was on vacation in Scotland with William and their father. That morning, Prince Charles woke Harry with the devastating news of the car crash in Paris that claimed Diana's life. Despite the gravity of the situation, Harry did not cry. He was in shock, unable to fully comprehend the reality of what had happened. Prince Harry recalled in the interview that the then Prince Charles delivered the tragic news. He didn't offer a hug, as displaying emotions wasn't his strong suit. Instead, he simply placed his hand on Harry's knee and assured him that everything would be okay, even though nothing was okay for a long time. Harry's memories of the days that followed are fragmented, but one moment stands out. greeting mourners outside Kensington Palace the day before Princess Diana's funeral. Reflecting on this, he describes the scene as bizarre. He and his brother, Prince William, were seen smiling, a reaction that filled Harry with guilt. He felt conflicted as the mourners showed more emotion than he and his brother did, possibly even more than they felt at the time. The tears of the mourners left their hands wet, a detail that puzzled Harry. He recalls the strange experience of accepting flowers from the grieving crowd and then placing them with the other tributes, feeling like a middleman for their grief. The funeral itself, held on a cool September morning, was witnessed by an estimated 2.5 billion people around the world. One of the most memorable images from that day was of Harry and William walking behind their mother's casket as it made its way to Westminster Abbey. Harry's recollection of that walk is marked by the overwhelming silence, broken only by the sound of horse hooves on the road, the creaking of bridles, the wheels of the gun carriage, and the occasional crunch of gravel underfoot. After the service, Princess Diana's body was taken to Althorpe, the Spencer family's ancestral estate, for burial. It was only when his mother's coffin was lowered into the ground that Harry cried for the first time since her death. During his teenage years, Harry did not cry, as he struggled to accept that she was truly gone. A part of him believed that Diana would never have left them like this, and another part of him wondered if it was all part of a larger plan. For years after Princess Diana's death, Prince Harry clung to the belief that his mother might have decided to disappear for a time and would eventually return. This hope persisted well into his adulthood, with Harry often waking up and wondering if that day might be the one when she would reappear. This belief was so strong that, at the age of 20, Harry requested to see the police report detailing the crash that killed Diana, her boyfriend Dodi Al-Fayed, and their driver Henry Paul, while being pursued by paparazzi in a Paris tunnel. Both Harry and his brother, Prince William, had directly asked their father not to marry Camilla, fearing that it would cause more harm than good. They saw how happy their father was with Camilla, and believed that should have been enough without the need for marriage. Despite their reservations, they wanted their father to be happy. However, Harry revealed that Camilla had launched a campaign in the British press to pave the way for her marriage to Prince Charles. He even expressed a hope that Camilla might be less dangerous if she were happy. The danger, according to Harry, stemmed from Camilla's need to rehabilitate her image.
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image.
And the connections she was forging within the British press. This need to secure her position within the royal hierarchy and as queen consort led to the exploitation of others, including Harry and William, for better tabloid coverage. Harry writes that he felt sacrificed on Camilla's personal public relations altar, used by both her and, at times, his father, to gain favorable headlines. When Harry introduced Meghan Markle to his family in 2016, his father initially took a liking to her, but William was skeptical, dismissing Meghan as an American actress. Other members of the royal family were also uneasy from the beginning, even before they had a chance to know her. The British press seized upon this unease, amplifying it into a frenzy. The mistrust, as Harry revealed, was rooted in stereotypes, Meghan being American, an actress, divorced, and biracial with a black mother. These elements became a target for the British media, fueling a narrative that would profoundly affect Harry, Meghan, and their relationship with the royal family. Within the royal family, the same stereotypes that fueled mistrust in the media also affected their perceptions. Prince Harry's family regularly read the tabloids, often laid out during breakfast when everyone gathered together. Whether or not they openly acknowledged believing the stories, the constant exposure left an imprint in their minds. The idea that Harry had changed after meeting Meghan Markle led to speculation within the family and the media. Some believed that Meghan had somehow manipulated him. However, Harry embraced the change, recognizing it as a positive transformation. Rather than engaging in his past behaviors of getting drunk, frequenting clubs, and taking drugs, he had found the love of his life and was ready to start a family. When their relationship became public, Harry took a bold step by issuing a statement condemning the tabloid coverage of Meghan, particularly calling out the racial undertones in the commentary. This action angered his father and brother William, who felt that Harry's statement made them look bad. They believed that they were not given the same opportunity or ability to defend their own partners in a similar manner. However, at the end of the interview, Prince Harry ended by saying that their family would be fairly functional without a third party, which is the British press. He said he's looking forward to having that file element back, having a relationship with his brother and father and other members of the family, as that's all he's ever asked for. What do you think about Prince Harry's revelations of the royal family's secrets? Do you think Prince Harry is right in all of these? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to check out the next video on your screen. You will enjoy it.